Hogstye.
Ho, 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 everybody. Welcome to a Christmas Eve episode of the Hogstye. We are getting ready for the Dallas game. It feels like that Tuesday night has thrown us both off, Steve. It's just you and me here. But that Tuesday night completely threw off my mojo for this show because,
really did.
Yeah. You get into a rhythm, right? Just like the players, you get into this routine where this is when you do the show, and now I don't know what we're doing.
Well, yeah, and I was sitting here working on a game preview, and Alex all of a sudden called me. I totally forgot that even what time it was.
Right. Yeah, and of course, we're both, I'm sure, prepping for the holidays coming up, and you got a lot of things on your mind, like I do, that are not football related.
Yeah, and then it occurred to me also that, of course, we have another Hogstye late night show on Sunday night.
Oh yeah, we do, don't we?
It's a 7 o'clock game, so we have yet another week that's going to be totally dorked up. You're welcome. I'm glad I told you.
It's the worst.
They're terrible. Please win this game,
probably
Washington.
I'm probably gonna be like tired from driving home, and who knows? You and I talked off air. I got a lot going on in my personal life that is not fun, so who knows where I'll even be.
Yeah, mentally or otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, why don't we get started with this show? Steve, why don't we start with the easy stuff? Roster updates, because this team's made a bunch of moves. Guys are coming off the COVID list. Where are we at? What are the big hits?
Okay, so a bunch of players have been let out of Corona jail, and some important players. And
Right.
So Cornelius Lucas let out. Cole Holcomb.
That's a good thing.
Cole Holcomb went to the COVID list. William Bradley King, who was on the practice squad, he got let out of jail. And then, most importantly, Taylor Heineke let out of jail, and David Mayo and Tamara Hemingway, who was on the practice squad. So Cole Holcomb, first of all, obviously welcome back Taylor Heineke.
Sure.
That's a good thing. But linebacker-wise, what that means is we're now back to 2 linebackers. We were down to 1, Jordan Kunacek, very briefly, and now that David Mayo has been activated, they're up to 2. So, this may be the David Mayo show. That doesn't bode well for the linebacker corps, to be perfectly honest. Oh, no. And the other one is that they did release Jordan Tamu, and that's not surprising given that Heineke's back, so they don't really need him.
Right. Yeah, I'm happy to hear Heineke's back. I mean, look, what was his name? What's his face? Did a good job for 2 or 3 drives there.
I mean,
yeah, given the circumstances, great job last week. I think we talked about that last week. But yeah, we got a quarterback who actually knows the offense and at least knows the play calls now. So that's good.
Yeah, and to injuries, since let's go over this. So as of Thursday night, which is today, the day we're recording this, the DNPs were Landon Collins, Antonio Gibson, William Jackson, Daniel Wise. They're calling Gibson's injury a toe injury. Jackson is a calf. Collins is a foot. Daniel Wise is a knee. And then Curtis Samuel was limited. There's a surprise. Jamin Davis, shoulder. Adam Humphries, ribs. And then James Smith-Williams says illness. So presumably that was God knows what at this point. But Davis and Humphries were practicing fully by Thursday. So the concern is Collins, Jackson, and Gibson primarily. That's the concern.
We need to have a whole show dedicated to what the hell with Curtis Samuel. Like, look, you make a big trade for a guy. We've seen it before. You trade for a guy, he gets some kind of injury like an ACL, and he's done for a year, and it's just bad luck, and you hate it, and you get pissed off by that. But that's happened. I get that when you get like a season-ending injury. Curtis Samuel has had like a I'm not 100% type injury. Like,
it's been weird nagging things all year,
right? Like, but it's like he strained his calf. It's stuff that honestly, some guys play through. I feel like.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much he's really been hurt or not. When it was a groin at one point, right? He's had a couple things, and I'm not saying he's not actually injured, But what it's
No,
very fair to say is that the dude hadn't been here, and he's not been worth a single cent of cap space.
But
That's for certain.
has he even gone on short-term IR ever this whole time? I don't think he has.
No, I did. I think he did.
Did he?
If you really want me to dig out an old chart, I will.
No. I mean, like it's for another show, I think. But like, this is the weirdest thing I've seen with a player in a long time.
Curtis Samuel special. How about that?
Yeah, the Curtis Samuel. We're gonna have to put a little red band trailer about it because it's the Curtis Samuel what the F trailer show. Like that'll be the whole show. It'll be what the F, Curtis. Like,
and we'll get Mark Bullock to come on and be reasonable, and then you and I'll just rant.
Can he use some of the like British profanity that we're not allowed to use, but he's allowed to because he's
Nobody
British?
will know what it is. And yes, Curtis Samuel was on IR, by the way, earlier in the year.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Fine. He gets that. He was on short-term IR for 1 point.
But it's like they spent a lot of money on him. He's not contributed a single thing,
No. You know what he's done? He's made sure that sideline looks really nice on the practice field.
Yeah, and even if he's even been out there. I mean, on IR, sometimes they're not there at all.
Yeah. All right. We should also jump and talk about the Pro Bowl because we got 2 guys in the Pro Bowl list. Pro Bowl, I think we all know it's not what it used to mean to make the Pro Bowl anymore. It's become more and more of the popularity contest every year. But hey, Allen and Scherf are both on that list. And you said we have a bunch of alternates. I thought that Carter had made it, but you told me he's actually an alternate.
Right. Yeah, so Allen and Scherf were selected as starters in the Pro Bowl. So they're in. Right. And we could debate whether Brandon Scherf, he's maybe getting in there more on name alone at this point because he's only played, what did he miss, 5 games or something? But
yeah, he's missed 5. It feels like every year he misses about 5 games.
Certainly in recent seasons. But yeah, I'm certainly happy for him. And Jonathan Allen, no doubt, absolutely deserved it. So the alternates, Tress Way was a second alternate. Cameron Cheeseman somehow was a third alternate. Don't ask me how that happened.
Well, remember, he was number 1 in fan voting.
I know how. I mean,
because his name is Cheeseman and people are stupid.
That may be it. But I mean, I'm happy, if any time a Redskin player can get in, I'm all for it.
Honestly, Cameron Cheeseman getting that many votes for the Pro Bowl might prove that democracy can't work.
Let's not go quite there, but perhaps it's not that serious. Maybe it might be as simple as he's got a recognizable name.
No, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. We all know that.
Antonio Gibson was the 4th alternate. DeAndre Carter as a kick returner was the 4th alternate, and Terry McLaurin was the 5th alternate. So of this group, my quick thoughts. I don't think Scherf deserved to be a starter. I think Tress Way did deserve to be a starter. Cameron Cheeseman, no. Antonio Gibson, no. DeAndre Carter deserved to be a starter. And Terry McLaurin, I would have maybe made him about a 2nd or 3rd alternate. That would have been
McLaurin's a weird situation where he's such an elite talent. We all see it when he can get the ball. But it's Heineke is not great for throwing to these receivers and getting them in space and all that. Like, he's not a perfect quarterback for what Terry does.
Nobody has been a perfect quarterback for what he does.
No. That is true. He has not had a good quarterback while he's been here.
Even Alex Smith isn't a throw it deep, chunk it down the field to wide receiver, stop quarterback.
No, Alex Smith has a good 10-yard range, and that's about it.
Yeah. He's really hurt by a quarterback for sure.
He has been. At the same time, the other tricky part that I don't think we talk about enough as Washington fans, there's so many good receivers these days. Like, the NFL has, I would, compared to, if you think back to the 90s, the guys like T.O. who were the elite of the 90s, you probably got 10 or 15 of those now, honestly.
There's more. I don't know about the number, but there's a lot more of them.
Yeah, well, and it's because there's come a pass-happy league and all that kind of stuff. But, there's definitely a lot of good receivers out there these days.
I don't know why DeAndre Carter wouldn't get more love than this. I mean, he was going into last week. I didn't check this week yet. Going into last week, he was leading the NFL in kick return yardage. I mean, yeah,
I
he
wonder
plays
if
for
it's
a
the low
lousy
punt
team.
numbers.
What's that?
I wonder if it's the lower punt numbers, because doesn't he have a fairly low number
He's
of
selected
returns?
as a kick returner, not as a punt returner.
Oh, okay.
Only as a
They
kick
separate
returner.
that still?
According to the press release that Washington put out,
Huh.
it says kick returner specifically, not punt
Okay.
returner. So as a kick returner, he was leading the NFL heading into last week.
Right.
So I don't know why he would be a fourth alternate other than he's just with a team with a small fan base, more than anything.
Sure. I kind of always assumed it had to do with, the punts, but if they're still separating kick returner and punt returner, then it doesn't make sense.
No.
He's a very good kick returner. Yeah, that one's disappointing. I think we all agree, though. Allen definitely has deserved his recognition this year.
And Tressway deserved it too. I think it's an insult to his talent that he was only a second alternate.
Well, I mean, Tressway's always been disrespected. You remember a few seasons ago when I was telling you he was having the all-time great season of any punter? Yeah. And
kids,
I broke
Alex
it down.
knows
I looked
these
at
things. Alex is like a special teams guru.
I'm a nerd.
Yes.
When it comes to special team stats, I'm a bit nerdy. So Tress had that great season, and he didn't get a Pro Bowl, he didn't get an All-Pro, he got nothing out of it. And then he got some recognition a year later, and he's been good this year. Not as good as he was 2 years ago, but he's still very good. He's still probably a top 3 punter in the league this year.
I mean, if you go strictly by net yardage, he's fourth.
Yeah.
But I just think it's more than that. He's
it's team recognition. It really is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, but for God's sakes, if Cameron Cheeseman can get a third alternate, surely Tressway can do better. That's all.
Well, Tressway needs to change his last name to like Waybread or something. I don't know. You got to have a fun last name. Hey, Joe Theismann did it, right?
He did. Yeah. Do people not know this? So he was Joe Theismann.
People know it. Yeah.
And now it was like a marketing dude or like Notre Dame or somebody that made him turn it into Joey Theismann,
Right.
Which he didn't win, by the way.
Right. Well, and they still do that joke in those Theismann house ads or Heisman house ads, right?
Yeah, they do. That's true.
Where he's hanging out outside wanting to get in all the time.
Hey guys.
Yeah. Funny old Joe.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a Pro Bowl. A lot of this will change. Like Tressway probably has a decent shot at getting in, I would think, depending on who's ahead of him. We'll see. It'll certainly change.
He deserves more recognition than I think the rest of the league gives him. And I know that's stupid to say about a punter, but it's true. All right, why don't we talk about?
What can you say? He's a really good punter.
Right. So not a lot happened this week with the team. Somehow, I think we had a quiet week, relatively speaking, even though the game was on Tuesday.
By Washington standards.
Yes. We didn't set fire to anything. So
nothing burned down.
Right. There was some news that came out this week about the team is talking to Virginia again about putting a stadium in Virginia. They're no longer talking about putting it by Dulles. They're talking about putting it way out in Loudoun County or Prince William County, like outskirts. This is no longer Northern Virginia you're talking about. You're talking about other Virginia, where they're looking at, which I think is pretty interesting. I did a little, I don't want to say research because that puts too much emphasis on it, but I started looking at kind of roughly where they're talking about putting it in Prince William County and Loudoun. And quite literally, from where I'm sitting in my house in DC, it is closer to get to the Ravens Stadium now than it would be to get to where they're talking about going.
Yeah. So here are my thoughts, because you guys know I know a lot about stadium stuff.
Sure.
Number one, I think this is just, it's much ado about nothing. I think Washington's most likely talking to Maryland, Virginia, and DC to some extent or another. And the fact that they asked Virginia for something now doesn't really mean a whole lot in context. So I wouldn't read too much into that, number one. Number two, it's a lot easier to get a deal done in Virginia from a land use perspective than DC. It's almost impossible in DC. Even in Maryland, though, it's not as easy as you might think. So, well, I all that having been said, I think it's a huge mistake to put a stadium way out in Prince William County,
Right.
like west of Dulles. I mean, that's a long, long, long way. And to me, what I think you're probably doing, the people up in um, northeast of Northeast DC, on sort of the Maryland, in the outskirts of the DC suburbs in Maryland, they're all going to become Ravens fans. If you put a
Oh,
team that's
absolutely.
50 miles away, you're just sort of ceding that part of Maryland, I would think, to the Ravens, even if you don't intend that. So I think it's a mistake to do that. I think people need to probably give up the dream of it ever being at the RFK Stadium site. It's just way too hard. Um, but I think there's got to be some way they can put it much closer inside the Beltway somewhere would be much better. I think you could put it anywhere inside the Beltway and still retain sort of the fan base. I think way
Right.
out in
Right.
Prince William County, that's just crazy.
Yeah. So, where they're talking about putting it, is we're talking about 35 to 40 miles outside of the city at that point. And by the way, when we say Prince William County, so I'll say this: I was born in D.C., but I grew up in Northern Virginia in Arlington. I've never even heard of Prince William County till like 2 years ago. That's how far out Prince William County is. I'm 38, never been mentioned.
And you're a
So like,
lifelong resident of the area.
right, right. So Prince William County, go to hell because you don't exist you're not part of the DMV. You're not. You're just not. Stop pretending you are.
It's a
You're
long, long way
Virginia.
out. Even Loudoun County is way too far, I think, realistically.
It's
I,
pretty
I,
far out.
I just don't know if people really understand unless you are in the DC area, which most of you are, but some of you aren't. If you're not in the DC area, I don't know if you really understand how far Loudoun County is from DC and from what I would consider the metropolitan DC area. It's really
Okay,
not.
so the tip of Loudoun, like the closest point in Loudoun and Prince William, is basically Dulles Airport because that's where they both kind of meet each other closest to DC. So if they're saying these counties and they actually mean we're just going to put it on the Silver Line right there by the Dulles Airport, maybe you can get away with this.
Even that's pretty
But
far out there, though.
it is far out. Like Chantilly, it's pretty
But
far
again,
out.
I just want to emphasize a lot of chatter goes on, a lot of political
Of
back and
course.
forth. The Washington franchise, Redskins will be playing one government off another. And granted, they don't have it's nearly as much leverage as some other teams does because the team sucks. Daniel Snyder's in all kinds of trouble for,
Right. Nobody
doing
wants to work with Daniel
secretaries and all
Snyder.
that
That's the
stuff.
other thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing people don't realize with like these. None of these governments actually want to deal with Dan Snyder. Like he's that toxic
Well,
that
he's got a terrible reputation.
right.
And it's building anything in the DC area is very difficult just because of the
Sure.
presence of the federal government. That's the problem with building in DC. One, there's just a simple space problem. There's not a good site really
No.
anywhere in DC. You'd have to really buy some stuff and knock some stuff down. So not that can't be done, but it's much more difficult. But the real problem you have is who's going to fund this?
Right.
The DC government is already paying for one stadium, and they're paying a debt service like 40 million a year on the
Mm-hmm.
Nationals Park. The idea they could take on double that, for at least
Probably.
double that, if not more, for a
Yeah, I was gonna say
Redskins.
probably more
Yeah,
honestly for a football stadium now. Yeah.
and in case people don't understand this, the federal government owns the RFK site. It is under
Right.
lease. It is under lease to the city of DC for another 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, I
The
think 2029 or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. And that lease would have to be either renewed by the federal government or deeded outright to the city. Two administrations now have shown no interest whatsoever in doing that.
Right. And we basically saw Snyder flat out bribe the last administration, and they still didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, and the Biden
He
that
gave
was
over $1 million to Trump. Nothing
yeah,
happened.
and nothing happened, and then the Biden administration's not been one peep out of it either. So you just need to
Yeah.
give it, and on top of that, the residents don't want a stadium there. The DC government doesn't want a stadium there, particularly either. So it's almost impossible at this point to do
The
that.
only bit of land that it's not even big enough for a football stadium that people still could look at as Poplar Point. And like I said, you'd have to be very creative in building a stadium there first off, because it's a weird shape. It's not big enough, and it's still the same issue. It's a national park technically because it's owned by the federal government. So you'd have to buy the land somehow from the federal government to get it. There really isn't a lot of options at least in the city. I think, I've kind of accepted it's either gonna, if they want it to stay close to the city, they got to go Maryland, like where the MGM National Harbor area is, or they frankly stay at Landover and somehow build better up there.
Well, I mean, what you do there is you just you could knock out. You could move them to the University of Maryland for 3 years, and just bulldoze, FedEx Field and rebuild right on that same site. You could do that.
Or your other option is what the Giants kind of did, where you build it right next to your old stadium and then you tear down your old stadium.
Yeah, I don't know if there's room for that. I mean, I guess there is. You could
there'd be some logistical issues, I'm sure.
Yeah. And the other issue is, I believe that there is, I think Prince George's County has like an option on this property
to buy the land
some
back.
number of years or something. So it's not quite as easy as one might think. But I think that's probably the most realistic option, realistically, certainly. So what's the summary of this? The summary of this is give up the dream for the RFK site. It's way too complicated. Yeah. This Virginia thing is probably much ado about nothing, but logistically, we all agree that Loudoun County or Prince William County is way, way, way too far. And Maryland's got problems too. I mean, Maryland spent a lot of money on these casinos, and it's not an easy and Dan Snyder, as Alex said, is toxic. It's a very difficult situation.
I mean, even Jack Kent Cooke, who, for all his craziness, I think was beloved, couldn't get this done very easily. So
don't forget how many sites he had his eyes.
Remember, he had Crystal City locked up, and then it fell through.
Then he had Old Town.
They were going to rebuild RFK, and then supposedly he smacked the mayor on the ass, and that failed it, or whatever it was.
Yeah, something. And he had a site in Old Town at one point in Alexandria that, he was looking out, and the residents didn't want that.
That's the Crystal. It was kind of in between Crystal City and Old Town.
Was it? Okay, I thought there were two.
That's what I'm talking about.
But point is, Jack Kent Cooke took a long time to do it, and he ended up having to fund it himself. And that was a different era. By the way, so one of my very few looks at Twitter this week, because I mainly just look at it to post our content ads, and that's it. Somebody, I totally lost my train of thought on this. What was I going to say?
You were looking at Twitter.
Yeah, I know, but it was something else. The question is, what did I see on Twitter that was relevant to this discussion? Now I can't remember. I don't know, Alex.
What was it? My weird map that I did, or what?
No, it wasn't your weird map. Yeah. It was some comment. I can't remember. I don't know. If it pops back into my head, I will spout it out.
If you look at our Twitter and you go back a couple days, you'll see I drew up a whole map of if they put it in Loudoun, are you now a Ravens fan? Basically, because I went and I was like, all right, Silver Spring. Yes, you're now a Ravens fan. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, it's a fair question. I mean, if you're in Silver Spring, Maryland, and the Ravens Stadium is, 15, 20 miles from there at most, and then there's this other team.
Driving, it's a difference of like 30 miles versus 38 miles.
Okay. Yeah. It's only 38 miles from Silver Spring to Loudoun County?
To Dulles Airport.
But you got to go beyond that, though.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know exactly where they're
It's just a really long way, and it seems very odd, and, they're definitely going to lose fans. Let's just say it like that.
And don't forget, there's, 66 is the only way to get out to there, or whatever,
And I think what I saw on Twitter was somebody saying, why don't they just put it on RFK? I think is what I was trying to say. Yeah. And
people, the dream what everyone has is that it goes back to RFK, right? Sure. Everyone would love that. It's never going to happen now.
No.
Vincent Gray has been bought off. He's not going to let it happen. So, just get over it.
I mean, a politician has been bought off? No, say it ain't so.
A guy who got fired for being mayor for being too corrupt is now gotten bought off.
That's saying a lot, because the D.C. mayor
Yeah.
Think of the corruption that's gone on in that office. And this
Well,
guy was too much for that.
Yep. And they kicked him out for it, yet he's still my representative here in Ward 7.
Because those guys never go away. They can't help themselves.
Nope.
It's like, God help us if that guy went out and got a job and supported himself. Certainly
yeah.
not.
Yeah. Well, he's a lawyer, Steve. You know what he would do for a living.
Well, then go practice law, dude.
Right.
Get off the government dime. Go do
I'm sure he would make a better living, right? Well, maybe not with less kickbacks. So
I think Vincent Gray would be the lawyer, would be Saul Goodman. That would be Vincent Gray.
Probably. He very much. I could see that happening.
Yeah, Vincent Gray would be Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad. There's no doubt.
Yeah. All right, we should we should switch up and talk about the Dallas game, because we got to talk about the Dallas game coming up. Yes. But first, we do have a sponsor ad that we should go through, Steve.
I have the copy ready.
You have the copy ready.
It's DraftKings, people. Get ready. If you want to bet, now's your chance. It's Christmas week, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NBA, has a gift that'll certainly put you in the holiday spirit. New customers can bet just $5 on any NBA team and win $150 in free bets if they're victorious. It's a great way to put some extra jingle in your pocket. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, your Christmas can still be merry. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Basketball Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total cash prizes with their first deposit. So just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code HOGSTY. And that's HOGSTY with no space, HOGSTY. Bet just $5 on any NBA team and win $150 in free bets if they're victorious. That's promo code HOGSTY this Christmas week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So there you go. And it's Christmas is the big NBA week, so it's the perfect time to do this if you are so inclined. So Jamal, out there, we know you want to do it. Just jump on DraftKings.
Yep. Jamal, go get on DraftKings. It helps us. We've had a couple advertisers now from different types of gambling operations. You and I both joined the other one, Symbol, that we had. Yeah. That one, I think I still have that. So
I do. Yeah, I haven't done anything with it. It's still sitting there.
No, it's more like it's like a blue chip stock. It's just going to sit there and collect nickels and dimes. That's
some kind of chip stock.
I've been talking to my retirement guy, so
Yeah, I'm sure it's a key part of your retirement plan. The Symbol.
Yes, I forgot to mention my $50 in sports betting,
football stock.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It's a better investment than a stock in the Green Bay Packers. I'll say that much.
If you guys didn't they just sell more stock?
Look, I know we got to get to Dallas, but as a lawyer, I have to rant about this because it drives me insane. So, the Packers hypothetically are public owned, right?
Right.
This stock, one, is non-transferable. Mm-hmm. 2, it doesn't pay any dividends. 3, you don't have any voting rights.
Right.
So what the Packers are literally doing? They're literally printing money. Whenever they need money, they'll just sell some stock. And what do you get for your $300? Basically, you get a certificate that you put on the wall. And I would imagine they probably invite you to a meeting or something, probably once a year, most likely somewhere.
Maybe.
But it is the most non-stock stock you'll ever find anywhere. If you can't sell it and you can't make dividends on it,
right,
what is the point? So don't fall for the Packers stock thing. It's literally the Packers organization printing money, almost literally printing money.
All right, I'm talking to my money guy Monday, so maybe I'm gonna write that down. Stop all purchases of Packers stock.
Yeah, you gotta stop, Alex. Stop doing it.
This is a bad investment. It's worse than investing in crypto, which is just a giant pyramid.
It's not an investment at all. It's not an investment. It's just setting money on fire to put a thing on your wall in your home office. That's what it is.
Right. It's like a diploma, you mean?
It's art. It's not diploma. It's art. That's what it is. It's art.
Okay. All right. No, art even has value when you
That's
resell
true.
it.
Yeah, I can't sell this, so it's not even as good as art.
It's bad art. It's it's the painting that's behind me that I painted. That's what
it's Alex's art.
Right. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys game.
Oh boy.
I feel like we just did this, Steve. I don't know why.
That's props because we did just do this, Alex.
Right. All right. So now we know the Cowboys kicked our ass 2 weeks ago. We're playing them on very short rest. Our quarterback is just coming back off the COVID list, so he hasn't practiced in forever.
And he was hurt when he went on the COVID list.
And he was beat up last time we played the Cowboys. So, and it might have been his worst game of his career. That's how badly they beat him down. So I honestly don't know how to feel about this game, Steve, other than a lot of doom and gloom.
Well, here's the thing.
Day after Christmas.
If you want, we always try to give you the path to success in this.
Okay. What's the path to success?
There's two things. Number one, you cannot throw interceptions. They're number one in the NFL in interceptions. If you look at their defensive numbers, Dallas's defensive numbers, the raw numbers, some of these stats aren't that good. They're 25th in red zone defense. They're 12th. That's offense. They're 17th in red zone defense. 26th in yards per play, 23rd in passing yards, 25th in rushing yards per attempt. They're giving up 4.5 yards per attempt. Two things. Number one interceptions, 23 on the year, number one in the NFL. The other thing is they're very good on third downs. It's probably in part because of the interceptions. But if you can do two things, you have a shot against this team. Three things, really. One, Taylor Heinicke can't have turnovers. Because remember, they had a bunch of weird turnovers in the other Dallas
they had 4 turnovers 2 weeks ago.
There were a couple strange turnovers, too.
Yeah.
So you got to knock that out. And then you got to convert on third down. If you can do that, that's two things. And then Washington's got to figure out how to run the ball. Take advantage of the weakness in Dallas's defense, which is rushing. The rushing defense. If you can do those three things, there is a shot to win this game. I promise you there's a shot. It's not a good shot, but that's how to do it. Don't turn the ball over. Convert third downs. Get a running game going. You can do that. You can be in the game. Will they do all those things? Probably not, but that's the game plan.
Right. So if we're talking about the game 2 weeks ago on December 12th, they did okay in the run game, right? They got 100 yards, which, I know people hate this, but to me, if you get over 100, that is a benchmark when it comes to the rushing game in any single game. You cross that threshold, I think that means something. I don't know why, but that's just how my brain always.
Mentally, somewhat, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but their passing game was miserable last time. You mentioned the turnovers. Heinicke, and I said it to start. Heinicke had his worst game probably of his career versus Dallas.
Yeah, not probably.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, well, I'm sure he's had some bad games here and there.
Heinicke's barely played, don't forget, other than with Washington. So, it was his worst game of the year. I mean, in the last game, Heinicke was 11 for 25, which is less than that's 40-something%. That's way below. Heinicke's pretty accurate quarterback.
Right.
His,
percentage-wise.
Yeah, his percentage-wise is he's at 66.5% even with that bad game. So that's very unusual. He had one interception and a fumble. That's just very unlike. It was just very unlike him. And in terms of rushing, I mean, weirdly, Antonio Gibson's kind of become Antonio Barber a little bit. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Sad to say.
Oh, I didn't know if you were talking about the fumbling and meant Tiki Barber or the lack of production.
No, I meant Peyton Barber.
Yeah.
They were 23 for 100 yards. Some of that came from Jarrett Patterson in garbage time.
Sure.
Jarrett Patterson was 4 for 29, but the main running back Gibson 10 for 36. He's just going to have a good game. It's as simple as that. I don't know whoever the lead back is. If it's Jonathan Williams, Jarrett Patterson, Tony Gibson, together that group is going to have to produce enough run game to keep this team honest and take advantage of that slight weakness in Dallas's defense.
You know, it is interesting when you think about the last couple games ever since J.D. McKissick went down. The running game, even though I know McKissick was more of a passing guy, it really has changed without him being able to be back there. Guys just key off on these running backs now because they're not the same dual threat that McKissick was.
He's a major loss, I think, and he's on IR now. By the way,
Yeah,
did we not mention that? I think I forgot to mention it. Yeah,
I
he's on
think we
IR.
forgot to mention that. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's not coming back. He's going to be done for the season. On IR, which is sad to
yeah,
say. Um, we'd be remiss in not mentioning two things about Dallas. It's really three things about Dallas defense. None of this is a surprise. Number one, Micah Parsons has been a beast. Obviously, he's been all over the place.
sure.
He's the guy you got to watch out for the most. Trayvon Diggs, 2 weeks ago against McLaurin, he did a really good job against Terry McLaurin, and it
He
wasn't
did
just interceptions; it
basically
was
shut him
coverage.
out.
Yeah, it was coverage. He did an outstanding job against McLaurin, and then you've got the pass rush. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence and Mr. Slimeball, Randy Gregory. I mean,
Yeah.
those two guys are fearsome pass rushers.
No, I
Dallas
mean
has talent.
we saw it. Last time we played them, they got after the quarterback well. They shut down McLaurin, and that was their formula, and they were very successful because of that. And if you don't have McKissick back, you're again, your guys just played. I don't know how guys are going to be able to, hold up for this game. Like the human body, it needs time to heal between games.
Yeah, I mean this is, and on top of this is a road game. It's in Dallas. They've got to travel on
Right.
Saturday. It's one more day than a Thursday game basically, because the Thursday game they've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday being a walkthrough, and in this game
Right.
they'd have, if they use the full time, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I guess it is the same, really. There's one more day in there, but since it's a travel day, it works out kind of the same.
Right.
So it's sort of
Right.
like a Thursday game, because they've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Saturday's a travel day, whereas a Thursday game would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday's a travel day. So yeah, it's
Right.
basically a Thursday game, the equivalent of for a team. So I just don't expect much from Washington in this game. And we haven't even talked about Dallas's offense. Let's talk offense, shall we?
Yeah, let's talk about them. I mean, people say they've been struggling the last few weeks on offense, but let's be honest, they're still pretty darn competent on offensively
They're
overall.
struggling in relative terms.
Right. They look like a normal offense, not a offense that puts up 40 points.
Yeah, kind of. But they're number 2 in the NFL in points. They're number 1 in total yards, number 1
Yeah.
in yards per game. I mean, and the big deal really, what Washington was missing or what Dallas was missing in the last game was Tony Pollard. Pollard played last week. He's on the injury list again. He was limited on Wednesday with a foot. Let me check Thursday real fast. But I think Tony Pollard is probably going to be back, and that's not good news. He was Pollard was limited again on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Dallas is much more of a two-headed monster in running than you might think, because Ezekiel Elliott's the outsized personality and he's well known and all that. But it's a dual thing. And the
Yes,
stat
it
I read
really is.
last time, if you recall, I mean, Dallas has won every game, and the two of these guys have both had good games together. If they don't, it's as simple as that. They win. If Elliott and Pollard get rolling, both, Dallas wins every time.
Sure. Sure. I don't think, I don't think that should shock anybody. If you have two good running backs and they both have a good day, I think most teams win that situation.
I mean, Elliott didn't have that great of a year. He's kind of like Gibson. He's accumulated a bunch of yards,
Right.
862 yards, but he's only averaging 4.3 yards per attempt. Pollard is averaging more than 5.5 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
scary.
He's cleaning up.
At
And
119 attempts, that's a statistically relevant sample. He's an
yeah.
outstanding running back.
Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of 1-2 you hope to have, frankly. I mean, I'm not going to complain about J.D. McKissick being the second guy. It's a different role, but like what were his numbers looking like? I don't even have them in front of me anymore.
Who,
But
McKissick?
yeah,
Okay,
I mean they were solid if you just factor in yardage, passing, or
so McKissick
rushing.
had 48 attempts, 212 yards, 4.4 yards for attempts, 2 touchdowns. That was on the ground. In the air, 53 targets, 43 receptions, 397 yards, and 2 more
600
touchdowns.
yards as a number 2 guy. If you're not gonna don't want to differentiate the two, that's
Combined,
not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this team could probably use going forward somebody else who can be the help carry the load.
Well, I think
Gibson.
we were all hoping it was going to be Jarrett Patterson, but it hadn't really panned out.
No, I like the guy, but it just hasn't quite panned out.
Yeah, I mean,
although
it's not a surprise that Gibson got Pro Bowl votes because a lot of people are just going to look at his yard and go, "Whoa, 862 yards." What they don't see is 3.7 yards per attempt.
Right. Although, let's be honest, none of our guys are really doing great on their yards per carry.
Taylor Heineke is.
Okay, Taylor Heineke is, yes. Yes.
Beyond Taylor Heineke, you take Taylor Heineke out of it, no, it's been terrible.
Right.
I guess if you want to count. Heineke's got 55 rushing attempts for 297 yards.
Yeah, he's our number 2 running back, right? Technically.
Yeah, and in terms of effectiveness, he's the number 1 running back.
Sure. Well, of course, he's scrambling, so that's going to help. But it is interesting when you look at the yards per carry for the actual running backs; they're all pretty bad.
Especially Gibson, who's the number 1 running back.
Yeah. They need an upgrade on the O-line pretty badly.
I just don't see a lot of this. Game has potential to get ugly fast.
It really does.
There's a lot of factors going against. Heineke hadn't practiced much.
No.
They've basically got the equivalent of a Thursday game, and they're traveling. They have no linebackers. Their best linebacker is on the Corona list. David Mayo is going to start at middle linebacker probably. That's not good. Their number 1 corner again is out. William Jackson hadn't practiced all week with an injury. And they've got CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper that they're facing.
Fuller still out?
Fuller's on the Corona list.
Yeah, so we're missing our top 2.
Our top 2, yeah. I guess I should have said that. So you want to real quick go over you want to know who's left on corners? Who gets to face CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper? Okay, here we go.
St. Juice is on IR, right?
Yeah, let me just circuit this. Corn Elder, Danny Johnson, Daryl Roberts. That's our corner group.
It's a who's of who's who.
Exactly right. Yes. Who is that? Yeah. I mean, Danny Johnson is not a good matchup for CeeDee Lamb at all.
No.
Danny Johnson is about 4 feet tall. CeeDee Lamb is tall. Danny Johnson is a slot corner. And so really what you're looking at is Daryl Roberts is the number 1 corner.
Well, Danny Johnson was brought in to be just a special teams guy. He was never brought in to actually be a corner.
Yeah, but now he's going to be forced into action.
Right.
That's
the fact that we have a guy named Corn on the team playing cornerback, that should worry you all. No one named Corn should do anything in life.
I'm wondering, maybe his name should have been like Green Beans or something.
Yeah, right?
Green Bean Elder.
Who names their kid Corn?
Oh, no. Or peas, maybe, or, carrots. How about carrot? Yeah. Carrot Elder. But regardless, that is a major, major problem. And safeties, Landon Collins has not practiced, and he's got a serious injury.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah, since it's only Thursday night, hadn't practiced. So if he's out, you're down to DeStasia Everett, Bobby McCain, Jeremy Reeves. There's your safety group.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can Daryl Roberts and Corn Elder with Bobby McCain backing them up save Amari Cooper, prevent Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb from going crazy? Probably not.
Yeah. Can they say, forget those two, who's like the 4th best receiver on Dallas? Like, that's who I don't even know they can cover him right now.
Well, it's a problem. What can you say?
Yeah.
They're gonna have to play the game. These guys are gonna have to play the game of their lives to have any chance at all. And you want to go over let's talk about some more Dallas receivers, shall we? Let's just go over this. So don't forget about Michael Gallup. He has talent. Jamal mentioned him, I think, when we did that other preview. And then Dalton Schultz, a tight end, he's got 61 receptions for 651 yards. And then Cedric Wilson Jr., 32 receptions, 438 yards. So really the three guys who are the big producers, Lamb, Cooper, Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
Even in their best days, Washington is bad at covering tight ends.
So Schultz has 61 catches, you said, right?
Yes, 82 targets.
So, he's got 2 catches less than Terry McLaurin, and he's their, number 3, number 4 guy?
Well, he's the tight end, so, he's their number 1 tight end. But in terms of receivers, he's their, I would put him third in terms of receiving production. Cooper has fewer receptions, but more yards.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I know that does, sometimes happen. Yeah. Regardless, they have, 3 Terry McLaurins is basically, or 4 Terry McLaurin equivalent weapons,
in terms of production.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And CeeDee Lamb's a big dude. He's 6'2". It's just not a good matchup. It's not a good week to have a severely depleted secondary from a secondary that wasn't that good in the first place.
Yeah, no, it's going to be bad. Is what it is.
I
don't see how you stop that with the guys we have left.
Again, anything could happen. It's one of those any given Sunday things. It's I think I don't think they have much of a hope in the secondary. They're going to have to put pressure on Dak Prescott somehow.
Right.
Whoever's left, Chase Young isn't there. Montez Sweat had a sack last week. Mr. Pro Bowl's got to come through. They've got to put pressure on, significant pressure. The only way to have a prayer at this, put a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott.
Right. Switch it up. Have all your defensive linemen try and cover these receivers and have all these stupid corners just try and get to Prescott.
We'll have Cornell Elder and Darryl Roberts play defensive end.
Right. Just total change up. They'll never understand what to do.
Things sure to go well.
Yeah. Hey, at least it's an idea. That's more than we've seen from some of these weeks,
It's an idea, not a good one, but it's an idea.
Yeah. It's better than just giving up like they did, versus Philadelphia at one point. So
yeah.
All right. Do we even want to do score predictions?
We have to do. This is part of the gig, Alex. You know this.
All right. You can't just say blowout, Infinity did nothing, and be done with it?
You can say whatever you want. You have your time to say your prediction.
All right. Fine. All right. I'm going to do my prediction. I'll be semi-serious and try and think up what a reasonable score here is, and I don't think it's going to be close, though. Dallas has too much going right for them. Washington's got too much going wrong for them. I'm going to say it's going to be something like 42-17 blowout. This is going to get ugly.
I agree. It's going to be a blowout. What was going through my mind was like 34-17 maybe, but that's just me being hopeful, I think. So I'm going to go with 34-17, but we both agree blowout. It's just there's way too much there's way too much working against Washington in this game, and they have a severe talent deficiency anyway, even at full strength.
Yeah. Both these teams healthy, you're probably looking at a 60-40 chance or 40-60 chance of winning this one.
So just think about this. We're going to have to do a Hog-style late night show for a game that is a probable blowout.
Ugh.
Alex, you should see Alex's face.
I'm just going to call him sick right now.
You can't call him sick on this job. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
Otherwise, you're just going to be babbling for 30 minutes. Nobody wants that.
No one wants that. All right. I will talk to you after this game, and we'll see. Well, after that, we'll see if we even want to do another show this season, because it's gonna get ugly.
It might, but hopefully everybody has a Merry Christmas and know it's Christmas and whatever else you celebrate. Have a happy holidays. But since it's Christmas, it's okay to say Merry Christmas.
Yeah, sure. Hanukkah's over, so don't worry about that. When is Ramadan? I don't even know. No one really. Well,
I think Kwanzaa is coming up in December too. I don't know when that. It's somewhere around this time. So if you celebrate that,
Festivus is right now when we're recording, right? So
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. Try not to get
Merry
too bummed out over
yes.
the Redskin game because it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. Yep. All right, later.